All right, we are live, ladies and germs. Yes, I am going to be doing Xfinity. I'm gonna be fucking doing that for a while. Um, we're gonna be yes, I am going to be doing O'Reilly Auto Parts Series reviews and also Craftsman Truck Series reviews. I'm not gonna be able to do the Truck Series review right at the moment because I wasn't able to watch it on Friday because I had to work. But we will be doing the O'Reilly series today. 1 second. Posting link to the review. On X. There we go. Alright. So, with that in mind, let's get into this race review of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at Daytona, the United Rentals 300. Hold on, let me turn my light on. There we go. So now you can see me a little better. But let's go ahead and get into this review. Hey, what's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to this edition of The Fuel. This review didn't come after the race last night because I decided I wanted to live stream some Arc Raiders last night on my other channel. So, there's that. Put music on, and we're off and running. So, even though the Xfinity Series is now called the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, I'm used to calling it the Xfinity Series. Yeah, because that was its title sponsor for the last 12 years, so it's gonna take some getting used to before, we actually start calling it the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on a consistent basis. But yeah, that's one of the things that's changed this year, as Orange Butt decides he wants to get some scritches. Butthead. I kind of want to get this review done and over with, though, because, for one, I'm going to go get my hair cut, finally. Number two, I got to run to the store for my mother, who fell a couple days ago and broke her ankle. Yeah, so that was fun to learn when I was getting ready to go into work on Thursday. And, of course, the most obvious point is the Daytona 500 is today, obviously. And they moved the start up an hour, so the race is going to be starting at 2:13. So under here, cat, do you mind? Butthead. Someone's car is loud. But anyway. Five, six. Okay. Alright. So, let's go ahead and get into the review. 2026 United Reynolds 300 at Daytona. You notice the title of the episode is Racing Like Pussies. And the reason why I say that is because these people driving these cars just don't seem to know how to fucking race Austin Hill at a super speedway. Maybe they're afraid of him right rear hooking them into the wall like he did at Indianapolis last year, because Austin Hill is just a fucking douchebag. And there was someone on X that was like, oh, you just hate Austin Hill because he wins too much on the super speedways. No, we don't hate him because he wins too much on the super speedways. We hate him because he's a fucking douchebag. There's a difference. Get it right. Fucking moron. So, yeah. This race was a bunch of Austin Hill leading. I think he led 71 of the race's 120 laps. Didn't go to overtime, although it did come pretty damn close. We did get a 2-lap shootout at the end. This race was annoying. So, let's get into things. Austin Hill starts from the pole, and right from the get-go, this race was going to be a fucking mess. Because some people didn't get going right at the start, and we had our first caution right at the start-finish line. And there was a huge accordion effect. The 91 of Mason Maggio had severe front-end damage. Brennan Poole, Jeremy Clements, Anthony Alfredo. Boy, what a week Anthony Alfredo has had. Thought he got into the Daytona 500 in the 62 car, then got disqualified for rules infractions. And then initially failed to qualify for this race, but then got put in the 4 car. And he gets caught up in a wreck right at the start of this race. So this has not been a good week for Anthony Alfredo, to say the least. Cat, do you mind? This cat. So we have a restart on lap 7 with Austin Hill as the leader. So William Sawalich goes to lead on the restart, but Hill fights back on the outside, and we have our first pure lead change on lap 9. It was 3 wide from 4th on back. I mean, from the middle portion of the pack, the racing, it was actually pretty racy, but it was just the shit at the front of the field. Then the 39 of Ryan Sieg had a possible tire going down after smacking the wall. There was lots of swapping behind Hill, and then the question was, who can stop the 21 today? I actually put that in my notes. Well, we know the answer to that now, don't we? Sammy Smith moves up to second behind Hill, but gets pushed to the high side. Corey Day spins off a turn 4 and clips the inside wall, but keeps going, albeit with flat tires. Got really lucky, truth be told. And then we had our second caution on lap 30, the final lap of stage 1. Sammy Smith gets a tap from Sam Mayer and collects several cars, including Gio Ruggiero, who actually won the ARCA race beforehand, and Nick Sanchez, as well as Sheldon Creed. And Austin Hill And Austin Hill wins stage 1 under caution. What else is new? Yeah, absolutely hate Hill for his actions throughout the series. Yeah, he's a douchebag. So, we had pit stops under this stage break, and Love wins the race off pit road this time. Luke Fenhouse's hood goes flying off under yellow as he's trying to get back around to the rear of the field under the caution, so, lol. So stage 2 was 30 laps as well, and Jesse Love leads the start of stage 2. Love blocking both sides of the street to stay in the lead. Hill and Allgaier bang doors down the back stretch fighting for third. Sawalich goes to the top side challenging Love for the lead, but then Hill dives under him to challenge the 18 for the lead. So we have our second pure lead change at lap 45 when Austin Hill regains the lead. Sammy Smith tries to make a charge towards the front, and Roger Caruth moves in front of him to try to get the push by Hill for the lead, so he actually leads the lap, but then Austin Hill gets it back. Corey Day nearly loses it off of turn 4 again, but saves it this time, and Austin Hill wins stage 2. Yeah. Pit stops under this stage break. Hill wins the race off pit road, and at that point I was like, can someone else other than Hill win this race, please? So we come to stage 3, which is 60 laps. Hill leads the start of the final stage. Caruth nearly loses it in the middle of 3 and 4 after contact with Taylor Gray, but hangs on. The 87 of Austin Green goes spinning down the front stretch to the inside of turn 1, but no caution. That is something that NASCAR was consistent with during this race. No cautions for single car spins. Who'd have thought? Hill and Love come to pit road for fuel only stops. That just goes to show you there wasn't a whole lot going on at this point. So they come to pit road for fuel only stops, kick off green flag pit stops. Second wave of green flag stops comes in, led by Mayer with 34 laps to go. And then the final group comes in with 29 to go. But then we have our third caution on lap 91, and this is when this race went to hell in a handbasket. The big one happens in turn 2. The 39 of Ryan Steed comes across the front bumper of Jeb Burton, spitting himself out and causing about an 8-car pileup. Allgaier, Gray, Brandon Jones, Mayer, Clements, and Natalie Decker all involved. And Natalie Decker, I mean, you want to talk about somebody who has put themselves right in the line of fire this week. Basically, she was on a podcast with Matt Tift earlier this week, and she was at the time she was like 14 or something like that. She met her who's now husband at that time and said that they would probably hook up when she was 18. So now there's grooming accusations flying around on that, and then they actually got her radio chatter after the wreck, and she was basically felt like she was blaming the 41 for coming up in front of her, and it was just not a good look. Not a good look whatsoever. And of course the CW broadcast guys, which was Jamie McMurray and somebody else, they basically buried her for it. It's like, yeah, shut up. So we had a red flag to clean up the mess. So several drivers come in for service, including Austin Hill, for tires and adjustments. So we have a restart on lap 97 with Love as the leader, and Hill is already back up to second on fresh tires. And it's like, it was inevitable what was going to happen. Fourth caution comes down on lap 101. The second big one hits in turns 3 and 4. Corey Day taps Williams to Wallace going into 3, and away they go. Bet another 9 cars involved in this one. Restart on lap 108 with Love as the leader, but Hill gets the lead on the lap after the restart. And then we have our fifth caution on lap 109 when debris off of Jeb Burton is on the track from a flat right front tire. Basically tore his right front fender all to shreds. So we have a restart on lap 113 with Hill as the leader. Jesse Love made a great move on him one of the only ones who was able to do so, or was really willing to, on lap 114. But Hill gets back in front before the final caution came out on lap 115 when Caruth Caruth gets a shove from Hocevar and goes down into Carson Kvapil and spins, basically taking Hocevar with him. So we have a restart on lap 119, so no overtime, with Hill as the leader. And these guys had so many fucking chances. This is what pisses me off about this whole thing. They had so many chances to get by Hill. And they just decided they'd rather help him. Kvapil had a great run on the outside, but then Love goes up in front of him, and that whole outside line just fucking dies. And it basically left Hill with just 3 cars behind him, one of which was Brendan Poole, who was getting a huge shove from Justin Allgaier, but then he got a shove from behind by Jordan Anderson in the 32, so that got the 44 loose, and he basically had to back out of the throttle. And then Allgaier had a run, Hill blocked it, and then Anderson had a run underneath, and Hill blocked that as well, and actually got a shove from the 32, and that gave him a huge lead. Allgaier had a huge head of steam coming down the front stretch, but it was too late, and Hill wins the United Rentals 300. It's his 15th career Xfinity Series win, but it's his 11th on super speedways. And you wonder why we call him a super speedway merchant. So yeah, that was ass. There were only 15 lead changes. I think the Truck Series the previous day had 32. And it had a crazy finish, and I'm actually kind of curious. I actually want to watch it once the full race is fucking posted, and then I'll do a review on it. But I would imagine it was a pretty damn good race. And there were only 5 pure lead changes in this race, mainly due to the RCR cars being RCR cars, and just... I mean, we're just so sick and fucking tired of Austin Hill winning these super speedways. I mean, and considering that Atlanta is next week, I mean, it's like, should we even bother watching Atlanta next week in the O'Reilly series? I don't know. But anyway, let's get to the results for this race. Of course, Austin Hill was the winner. He actually led 78 of 120 laps. Justin Allgaier finished second. Ryan Sieg actually recovered to finish third, despite being in that wreck in the last caution. Or no, the caution before. Or the fourth caution. There we go. Jordan Anderson finished as fourth. Sammy Smith in fifth. And then Ryan Ellis, Kirsten Kvapil, Blaine Perkis, Jesse Love, and Raja Caruth round out the top 10. And there's the rest of the finishing order. 25th through 38th did not finish this race. The 13 cars actually ended up out of the race due to crashes and all that stuff. Which brings us to the point standings. Austin Hill with 75 points. Basically got the full 75. Actually, does this show who had the fastest lap bonus point? No, that doesn't really matter. So Austin Hill starts out as the points leader, obviously. Allgaier is second, 50 points back. Of course, none of this really matters at the moment. We really got to get a couple races in before we start looking at the point standings, but that's basically how it looks. Austin Hill with a 25-point lead to start the season because they added 15 extra points to the winner, so which is what a lot of us wanted before all this began all the way back in 2004. So there you go. As for my final rating for the United Rentals 300, I mean, this was basically the Austin Hill show. It got really messy in the third stage, and nobody wanted to win, so I'm giving this race a 3 out of 10. This race sucked dick. I mean, especially compared to the truck race, like this race sucked dick. So So that's how I feel about that. But anyways, I really thought Bram Poole was going to win the race, and I thought just another guy was going to go with Poole and push into the lead and potentially win. Yeah, but they decided not to do that. They decided, oh, we're just going to split up and fight for second. Like, what the fuck, dude? This happens every single time in the O'Reilly's race and a super speedway race when Austin Hill is in the lead. It just seems like nobody wants to try to pass him. I don't get it, dude. I don't get it. But anyways, that's going to do it for this edition of The Fuel and our review of the United Rentals 300. We're back later on tonight, and we will review the Daytona 500. Kyle Busch is on the pole. Will this be his year? Who knows? Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later on tonight for the Daytona 500 post-race review. Till then, this is the PackerMan signing out. See you later. And of course, the outro is being finicky as usual. Let's try this again. What's more with feeling?